Hey, what's going on? This is Everyday Strong with Dr. Michael G. Daniels. This is your host, CB Baker. This is the post-election. This is literally the day after the election, and we still do not know who won the election.
Yeah.
So we decided to just do a quick episode on this, and there's really no topic. We're just going to talk about this, kind of just air our feelings out about things. And as everybody know, I'm basically a moderate Republican. I voted, I can say it, I voted Democrat.
Mm-hmm.
I voted Democrat because I feel like they was the best candidates across the board for what I felt like was the thing we needed to do. And what me and Dr. Daniels were sitting there talking about was the lack of strategy that both Republican and Democratic parties have for as uniting America.
Yeah.
And it's really kind of disappointing when you look at how things are going. Like right now, it is, I'm dating this on purpose, it's 11:02, just in case at 11:30 we get a winner. But this is crazy, Dr. Daniels. How did you feel when you woke up this morning?
Exasperated, tired of all the stupidity. I'll say this. I don't have a problem with the delay in the count. I don't.
Right.
Because my thing is this. It is more important for every individual's vote to be counted than it is to rush through. You have people that are in the military that are stationed around the world. And should we require them to get their ballots in before the dated election, the day of the election? I mean, they should have the opportunity, as long as that ballot is postmarked,
right,
by the day of the election, for the mail service to happen. Now, what we know is this. Also, we know this, that in Philadelphia, 52% of the ballots, for some reason, were slow in being delivered.
Right.
52%. Okay. Now, something's wrong when 52% because it's not like they go to different addresses, right? All the ballots go to the same address. So that means they just kept them and collected them before they delivered them. Right? That's stupid. The other thing is this, is that in many states, you could only start counting the ballots on collection day,
right,
which is also stupid, know. So
very much so.
Yeah, none of that makes sense. But here's the problem I see with that. And the reason for that was because the GOP party, the Republican Party, has been in court for the last 18 months doing everything they could do through the courts to ensure that the system did not properly work so that every ballot could be counted.
Now, which goes back to what we was talking about before I hit the record button. The Republicans do everything possible to win the game.
Yes.
And I said the word game on purpose because they're playing to win the game.
And they play it like a game.
Right. And where the Democratic Party plays it like, oh, we're going to be nice. We're going to do this. We're not going to run any really negative ads. We're going to make sure we're going to play by, quote unquote, the rules.
Right. They play it like it's a real democracy.
Right.
And the Republicans play it like we in it to win it.
Right. like really for them, the rules is an idea that we should follow, until we don't really need to follow it.
Right. To me, they say it this way. We're going to win by any means necessary. I mean, let's face it. That's really the game they play. By any means necessary, we going to win.
Right. It's... But what I don't understand is the Democratic Party doesn't do anything, like for real, to stop that from happening.
The Democratic Party, as you say, and let me say this, people may call me a Democrat. I'm really an independent, because I have voted Republican and I have voted Democrat.
Right.
I vote the ideal. So let me just put it out there. But what I vote, unlike some people, I don't vote my pocketbook. I vote my conscience.
Right. Right.
So there are things that may damage my pocketbook, but I still look at what's good for the country as a whole. Okay, and that may be idealistic, but that's my moral compass. Okay, so for example, listen, I'm about to relinquish. I'm about to apply for Social Security in 3 years. Okay, now, so which would mean, based on my retirement, based on my investments, and so forth and so on, it would probably be better for me for Donald Trump to stay in office. Okay, based on my investments, but I still voted against him. Because my moral compass says, you can't let dollars control you. Jesus said, what does it profit a man to gain the world and lose his soul? And that's kind of how I look at it in general. So, but look, so getting back to, just so I can set the stage, right? The problem with the Democrats is, like you said, they want to take the high ground morally. They want to play by rules. They don't use the court system the way the Republicans use the court system to establish things. The Republicans will use the courts to draw lines, congressional lines, so that they know that they set it up so that they know that there's no way they can lose because of the way they have the lines drawn.
Right.
They have the votes right there all the time.
Right.
And then because once you win, it's hard to change the lines back, because you got to go through the political system to change the lines back, right?
Right.
And so it rarely happens. Now, the Democrats will do things like this. Every now and then they'll go to court to try to get the lines redrawn so that, they'll have the majority population so they can, it won't be diluted. But they don't do it consistently.
Right.
They might do it every 4, 5, 10 years, something like that, when they should be in court consistent. That's how the Republicans are. They're in court all the time. Once they take over legislature, they change everything. Mm-hmm. The Democrats will take over the legislative body and they change nothing. The other thing I say is this: the Republicans know how to play the game in the local elections. Mm-hmm. See, Democrats, I don't mean the politicians, but the people who are Democrats, seem to only come out heavily when it's a national election.
Yep.
Republicans come out heavily when it's local elections, because they understand local politics determine more than national politics. Local politics determine your congressional districts. Local politics determine who your judges are, who the prosecuting attorneys are. All these kind of things that affect you really. See, people were crying these stupid things like this. Biden put people in jail. Biden didn't put nobody in jail. Right. The local prosecutor put people in jail. Right. The local judge gave you all the time. Those are people that were voted for in local elections. So again, I can't agree with you more. You hit the nail on the head. The Democrats, if they wanted to win, and I've been saying this all along, they should have did one or two things. Number one, you should have had Michelle Obama on the ticket. She should have been for the president, but minimum vice president, okay? If Michelle Obama was not on the ticket, Kamala Harris was not the person. Now, I'm not saying they won't win, because right now we don't know who won.
Right.
But what they should have done was chose a female Republican as the running mate. Mm-hmm. That would have sealed the deal.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And honestly, that might be what's needed to really bring the country back together. Because, way back in the early stages of the country, the person who lost the presidential race became the vice president. They changed it later on, but you could kind of see why. If both people are civil, the best way to govern anything is really as a little bit of opposition, so you can get to the right solution.
Check and balance, right? You got check and balance even in the executive branch. Then you have check and balance,
right? And I was talking to my father earlier today. I said, the problem with what I see with America is we need to be really kind of more like England. There's multiple parties in England. So therefore, it's not just one or two issues that drive voter turnout or drive the election. Because you got multiple parties. Like, where is the party at that wants to talk, the third or fourth party that brings other things to the table? Mm-hmm. Like when they did the exit polls, they was talking about the economy, social injustice, coronavirus. Mm-hmm. Those are the top three issues. But we all know most of the things that really that people harped on was one we're going through right now with the pandemic, was the coronavirus.
Right.
And social injustice kept going up, in waves. But the unfortunate thing, it only got brought up when somebody got killed.
Well, yeah, but think of it this way. I mean, this is how I look at it too. You're right. More than one party would work, but I also think the Electoral College needs to be abolished.
Yes.
So if we're going to revamp the system, then we should revamp the system, recognize that we're not the same people we were back in 1776.
Yeah.
That at that time, the aristocrats presumed that people were illiterate and therefore did not have the wherewithal to make sound decisions. Mm-hmm. So they set the system up so that those who they considered to be wise really made the decision about who would be president, ergo an electoral college. Even the name suggests what? Electoral College, meaning what? We are more highly intellectually astute than the rest of these people are. Well, if we live in a country where we presume now that that's not the truth, where all men truly are created equal, then that means that whether you're a garbage collector or whether you're a doctor with a PhD, you still understand what you need and what you want. Right. We need to have a strict popular vote.
Right.
Whoever gets the most votes win. Not the Electoral College, but whoever gets the most votes win. Here's what we know. In the last 7 election cycles, okay, the Republicans have only had the majority popular vote one time. But yet, they have not lost 6 times. Right?
Yeah.
So that, to me, tells me that something is wrong with our system. If the Democrats played the game right, it would work for us, right? Or work for the Democrats.
Right.
But because we don't.
The Electoral College, I agree. It's got to go. It's time for it to go. And one thing that the forefathers did do with the Constitution, it's a living document. Mm-hmm. You can change it. Why aren't people it only comes up on the presidential election? Like, we need to get rid of the Electoral College. Like, honestly, after the last election, in 2016, mm-hmm. it really should have been like a major push to get that abolished. Yeah. And I believe maybe this particular scenario, like we're literally sitting here watching, it's down to one state, like what it was with when George Bush with Al Gore. Mm-hmm. It came down to Florida, mm-hmm. And they around there looking at little tags. Oh, it's like, why we got to go through that? Like, and then like you said earlier, if mail-in voting, like I voted up here at the library, mm-hmm. and it was Scantron. I put it through the machine, so I already know the machine counted the vote. Mm-hmm. So why we got to wait all night for election results when half the people that already voted? Just soon as the poll closes, you say it's closed, go ahead and put the number up on the board.
And see, here's the stupidity. Like I say, this is the stupidity of it, or the wisdom of it. See, you can look at it one of two ways. Either it was stupid or it was wise. Okay. Yeah. Now I say this: if I'm a Republican, it was wise. If I'm a Democrat, it was stupid.
Yeah.
The GOP made sure that the ballots could not be opened until election night in states who were doing this for the first time.
Right.
Okay. That, like you say, that made no sense. Why did they wait till election night, the day of the election, to start opening the ballots?
Right.
Soon the ballots come in, they should have opened them up, verified everything that was proper, and then scanned them.
Right.
Okay. But the GOP went to court after court after court to make sure that didn't happen. Why? Because they want ballots to be thrown out.
Right.
Because the less people vote, the better their chances. But if you're the Democrats, I say it's stupid. Why? Because you should have been pushing all along to say, hey, listen.
We need these things opened up, scanned in there.
Right away. That's what should have happened. Scanned right away. You don't have to release the results right away,
right?
But it should be scanned right away so that on election night, the only ballots you are counting are the ballots that came in on election day,
right?
And the people who just did it right then and there.
I think it was, what was it? Pennsylvania said, it was something I read. They said the only numbers you're seeing tonight is what was done between 7 p.m. and 11 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
But so after 11 o'clock, we'll start counting the mail-in votes, and it's like over 1 million of them. I'm sitting there, and I'm thinking in my head, okay, so they're in an envelope, so somebody's got to open this up. I know it's not it's not Amazon back there with machines that's going to open the thing up and scan it. So it's going to be an actual person that's got to sit back and open up 1 million of these things and then scan them.
Not just open them, validate them with signatures.
Right.
And then scan them. See, so you're right. I mean, again, if you now remember, the GOP even today they are still trying to sue to say, hey, listen, ballots that are postmarked by the 3rd should still not be counted if they get to the registrar's office after 3 days. So if I am a Navy captain stationed in Japan, and I mail my ballot in 4 days ago, it's not here right now.
No.
But yet I still voted on time, because most of those battleground states, and that's the irony of it. Now, in the battleground states, this is the problem. Mail is 5 days behind. Isn't that odd that in the battleground states it's 5 days behind? When California is larger than any of those states, but their mail is not behind. Right. And the Postmaster General is saying that, well, it's because of coronavirus that we don't have enough employees to sort it. That's the dumbest excuse I ever heard, because let's face it, all the checks, when we did the stimulus checks, they came out on time.
Yeah.
Right?
They did.
If you can issue stimulus checks to everybody in the United States of America that file their taxes and they get there on time, that tells me that you could have did that.
Right. And it comes on a debit card.
Right.
Then you go on, and then check this one out. Then you go online to activate the card. I get the security issues, but I'm even going to take this a step further. If I can pay my taxes online,
I should be able to vote online.
I should be able to vote online. If I give you money and you can give me money online, from the government standpoint, right? With the IRS, you can get a PIN number and you can go put money in your account online for throughout the year. Right. But I can't go online and vote. I can't go to the same system and be like, here's the ballot, click, 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 submit.
Right. Now, and that's because the GOP, the Republicans, don't want it to happen that way, because they say it increases the chance for fraud. But they don't say that about anything else. Right. Right. You bank online. You do everything else you can do online except vote. And no one says anything. You can, you know what? You can apply for Social Security benefits online. Right? You never have to go into the office. And that's okay. They don't say that increases, the chance of fraud. But again, that's why I say it depends on what side of the aisle you're on. If you're on the Republican side, you're thinking to yourself, we did great. This was a wise thing we did in making the system look messy. If you're a Democrat, then you were stupid, because you should have been trying to straighten this thing out 3.5 years ago.
Right. And the crazy thing is, what's messy is somebody sitting behind, a team of people sitting behind a closed door, opening up ballots with your important information up there. It's not like when I give my stuff to the bank clerk and you got my Social Security number and all that stuff, I know where it's going. I'm at the bank.
Right.
My ballot was a mail-in ballot is sitting in front of somebody. Did they get a background check? Yeah, I have no idea who was doing it. Is this a volunteer that's looking at my stuff?
Right.
Like, it doesn't, it don't make sense.
Did it get balled up because they didn't handle it right, so now it won't scan? And now they're blaming me. Right. They really just don't want to scan it anyway. It's so many variables that is really, when you think about it, it is mind-boggling. See, again, I go back to your first premise, which is so accurate. Why wouldn't the Democrats, back when Al Gore and Bush had the problem, why wouldn't they at that point in time say, you know what, we messed up, Al Gore should have won. We all know that looking back, Al Gore should have won. It changed history, right?
Right.
Why wouldn't they have at that point in time said, you know, for moving forward, we're going to look to change the way you vote. We're going to make sure that voting is easy because we're going to make sure it can be done electronically through some mechanism.
Right.
Right? Because what if, like you said, what if the government assigned you a code? Just like you have a social security number.
Exactly.
What if the government assigned you a code, or that was it, your social security number, and that's what you use to vote with?
Right.
You know, so everything was electronic. It makes no sense that the Democrats who want voting to be easy have not used that push and said this is what we want. But the deal is, it's because it's a state by state issue, and when you got Republicans controlling state houses, it won't happen. But as soon as, just in Virginia right now, we have a Democratic-controlled state house. Why don't they do it now? Why don't they jam it through right now when you got control of the house?
Yeah. I saw a thing on the news. They're landing a satellite on an asteroid outside of Jupiter. Mm-hmm. They're going to plan 2 years for this, and, you know, and I'm sitting there like, if you got the ability to land, listen to what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. You're going to land a robot on an asteroid, take samples of this, put it in the robot, and it's going to send a signal back from Jupiter now.
Right.
Back here.
Which is moving all the time. It ain't like it's standing still. It's moving.
It's moving. Back here, and we can get the results. We can't vote online. It makes no sense.
It's what you said earlier, that it's a game. It's a game, and one party knows how to play the game better. Yeah. You know, it's unfortunate that that's the truth, but one party knows how to play the game better, and because they know how to play the game better, it hurts the United States as a whole. You know, it really does as a whole. It hurts us. You know, this nation could be so great if we did not thrive on nationalism. You know, and if you think about the things that cause us our demise, it's centered around that concept of I'm the greatest. You know, when you keep telling people they are the greatest, that means someone else is not great, right? And so that concept is inbred in us, that you're the greatest. So if white folk think they're the greatest, that means black folk are not the greatest, right? We don't thrive on unity. Even Donald Trump's, and of course he stole that, Make America Great Again from Ronald Reagan. If you those of us who've been around remember, that's what Ronald Reagan said: "Make America Great Again." If you look at that means what? Somehow we're not great. Somehow we're not great. But white nationalists take that to mean, hey, we are great and everybody else is not. Right. So it keeps us divided. The winning platform is not united, we're great.
Right.
The sad part when we think about this election, this is what's sad to me too, is that the successful winning platform appears to be one that pushes hatred.
Yeah. And that's and it's sad. Mm-hmm. It's sad, and it's also playing the game. Because it's very easy to persuade somebody with emotion.
Yes. If
I can get you emotionally riled up, you're not thinking straight, and then you do something. What's the first thing your parents tell you? Like, don't make a decision upset. Right. And then when you get married, the first thing they may tell you is like, don't go to bed mad. Right. It's like it's not healthy. Like It's like it's calm down, work it out, and then we talk about it in the morning. It's like they give you advice, but it's all about taking the emotion out of it. When you're a leader and you're talking to your employees, you stick with the facts. Right. You don't deal with the emotion. Employee will come in here I've had them sitting in my office and they're crying, and I just sit there and look, and everybody say I'm cold. I was like, I just sit there and look at them because I'm waiting for that to go. Okay, I'm waiting for that to pass by. Now let's deal with the facts.
Right.
You know, once I deal with the facts, we get to the issue. Then I come back and then okay, everything all right. But you take the emotion out of it. But the Republicans,
that's not what they do.
No, and it's not. You know, Democrats, they want to tug at your empathy. And you know what?
Right.
And, you know, and where the Republicans is like, this is wrong, and boom, 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 and this is, and then even if you don't agree with it the first time you hear it, by the 1,000th time they've said it, you be like, you know what? They might be onto something, and that's what they want.
And you think about it, it's always been based on hate, always. It's because hate is a stronger emotion than love. People like to say that it's not, it's the opposite, but no, hate is stronger than love as far as motivating you to act, and they play that card and they play it so well. I mean, so well. I watched a special last night because I didn't want to watch the results coming in. I didn't, I said to myself, I'll check it every 30 minutes or so. I didn't want to deal with it. So I watched this special, and what it dealt with was the militia groups and how they came about, and so forth and so on. Currently, what they talked about was that the thing that gives militia groups now their sense of wealth, I guess wealth is the wrong term, but the thing that makes leaders seem like they're greater than life are those who have actually trained in Ukraine. So what they're doing is they're volunteering in Ukraine to fight over there to gain experience and get those tactics that they use. Okay, then they're coming back here as that, and that's like a badge of honor.
Right.
Okay, so you have those militia groups who are training every day to overthrow the government, right? To wipe out minority groups and all those kind of things, right? They're training for that kind of stuff. Now, when you have people doing that, and they talk about the numbers of them too, and they're in pockets throughout the United States of America, and like you said, when they keep pounding that stuff on young minds and pounding it on young minds, that hatred becomes a badge of honor within and of itself.
Right.
Because what they do is they use that hatred to blame other people for their own shortcomings. And if you keep doing that long enough, because most of us if you can make me a victim, I feel better about myself. Right. So I'm not responsible for me not having a job. I'm not responsible for me not being middle class. It's the other person. And that's what they've done with a lot of the white folk that are no longer in the middle class. See, they're not blaming automation, right, for the reason why they don't have the jobs they used to have. Right. Forget the fact that we got robots now doing what you used to do. Right. They're blaming Mexicans. They're blaming blacks. They're blaming all these kind of things for that. You know what? The jobs that Mexicans get, them white folk don't want no way.
That's right.
So I don't know why you worry about them coming over here.
Right.
You don't want to pick oranges anyway.
Right.
And the same thing with black folk is that that hatred, it drives it. What I don't understand also is how you can be a black man or black woman and be sitting at a rally with a bunch of white nationalists and Klansmen, and you still yelling that you want the same leader that they want.
Right.
That makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
That you want the same leader that those that want to kill you want.
Yeah.
That would be like Jews saying, "We love Hitler. We want Hitler."
Right.
Wait a minute. How can you want this? It makes no, but yet they have been brainwashed so much that they think it's okay.
Yeah. They definitely have drank the Kool-Aid. And once again, because Trump knows how to play the game, like the situation like with Ice Cube. Ice Cube wanted to meet with politicians, like who was going to do what. He's trying to do what black people have been saying for years. Who's going to listen to us? He goes to Biden's group that said, come back in a couple weeks. He goes to Trump. Trump's like, oh, well, you know what? I got an idea. Come on in. Sit down. Platinum plan. I'll work it out with you. Then he gets on TV and says, blah, 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 blah. The next thing you know, he's saying, okay, if I say this, I'm not going to get a whole lot of black votes. But if I get 2 to 3% more black folks than I would have gotten, that's one vote that's not for Biden.
Right. Now, do you think that Trump is going to do anything Ice Cube suggested?
No. Well, he might do something, but not all of it.
He ain't going to do none of it. You know why I say that? Think about this for a second. Let's look at the real deal for a second. Trump does what Trump wants to do.
That's true.
Okay? That's bottom line. Trump doesn't even do what Mitch McConnell wants him to do. If Trump don't do what Mitch McConnell wants, to me, that's the fallacy of it. This joker sit there and look you right in your face. It'll be pouring down rain, wind blowing at 140 miles per hour, and will tell you it's sunny outside.
Yep.
And these dummies will believe it.
Yep.
See, it's like with the coronavirus. They believe it when he say it. You got to be a fool to believe. Here's the reality of it. Who the heck is Ice Cube? I mean, really, you think I care? You think Michael Grant Daniels care about Ice Cube's solution? You think because this joker knew how to rap and got lucky enough to make a movie, that I think that he knows more about business than I do? Do you think that way?
No.
Right. So why in the heck would I think he should speak for me, or do you think he should speak for you? See, I get that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying the Democrats just not playing the game right. The reality of it is this: I don't want Ice Cube putting the plan out there, because he ain't the one I want putting the plan out there. I want people like you putting the plan out there. Right. I want people who have the background, who have raped and scraped and got it. They made their money not because they was rapping about F the police. Right. I want people that I'm not saying that Ice Cube isn't a smart guy. I'm not saying any of that kind of stuff. But I'm saying the reality of it is, it's not like he's that savvy politically that's the one I want speaking for me.
Right.
So I'm just saying, I get why Biden and them said, wait a minute, you know what? Come on, we're running the campaign right now. What's the coalition that Ice Cube has?
Nothing.
None. So,
but the issue is Trump knew with Ice Cube, because he has a voice, has a name, and will be able to get airtime.
No, I'm agreeing with you. I'm with you. That's my point. I'm with you.
But I'm like, why can't Biden see that?
No, I'm with you. I'm agreeing with you. My point is, what you said in the beginning it holds true. Is that it's a game, and the Democrats aren't playing the game. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Just like Trump met with Kanye West. Well, I'm not saying this to be derogatory, but it's a fact. We know Kanye West got a mental problem.
Right.
We know this, right? So why would we expect Kanye West to say anything that made sense? Kanye West said that we were better off as slaves, right? But Trump met with him. Now, did it make sense? Yes, in that what? If I can get some of the young black folk to vote. Now, is he going to do what Kanye West said? No.
Right.
But you know what? He's going to use that as a pawn, and say, well, at least I moved my pawn, up one space, and so blah, blah, blah. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that, that the Democrats were right. I'm just saying that Republicans play the game better.
But that's what I'm saying. In a situation like what Ice Cube was attempting to do, that's the reason why we really need 3 to 4 parties total. Mm-hmm. Because even though the party may not win, but you say, okay, I want this issue out in the forefront. I remember when Al Sharpton was trying to get the third party going. He said, I just want to have a seat at the presidential debate when, right. And I understood where he was coming from. And then, out the blue, I don't know if he got bought out or what, but then he just faded to black. After he went through attacking when it was him, Tavis Smiley, and Cornel West was attacking Obama. I said, okay, hold up. But then where you at now? It's like, okay, what happened? Like, y'all just faded to black.
Well, I mean, we have more than one political. If you think about it, we really do have more than one political party, right? You really do. The thing is, those political parties have no clout.
Yeah,
and, there are about four or five political parties that put someone on the ticket for president. Just nobody. Well, I can say nobody voted for him because there are some people that voted for the green candidate.
Right.
So like Ross Perot at one point when he ran, Ross Perot before he,
he bowed out and he was going to win.
Ross Perot was leading.
Right.
Then he bowed out. Then he got back in. When he got back in, it was too late. People,
right.
He had been overtaken by events. Just like you have the Tea Party. It was a separate party, but now they have merged into the Republican Party.
Right.
So it's not that we really haven't had them. It's just that people realize, well, I can't win this way. So they get on the party that can win. And I get that. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying that's what happens.
Right.
And I get that. In Europe, see, those parties have been that way for a long time. And we started out that way. We had Whig Party here. This country started out that way, just like this party, the Republican Party used to be the party of the people.
Right.
And the Democratic Party was not.
Right.
But then after the Civil Rights era, it began to slowly switch over. Because it used to be Dixiecrats was what you did not want to vote for. Them Democrats from the South, those were the rednecks. Those were the people that was hanging folks from trees.
And that's who's flipped over to the Republicans after Lyndon B. Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act.
Right, because Lyndon B. Johnson was a Dixiecrat. He was from Texas, right? Which was unheard of that a northern guy, right? President Kennedy would pick a Dixiecrat as a running mate. Unheard of. But see, that was a uniter, and then of course Johnson did what no one thought he would do.
Right.
Civil Rights Act, Fair Housing Act, Voting Rights Act. That no one thought somebody from the South would do, but he did because he looked at country first. So I'm just saying that the parties and the numbers, we need to put the things on the ballot that make sense to us. I say our problem and Ice Cube problem is the same thing. Black men, 52% eligible to vote voted, right? 52%. Black woman on the ticket. 100% of black women should have voted for Democrats. Mm-hmm. See, our problem is we can't get stuff on the ballot because we as a people don't demand it on the ballot.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
See, the coalition is great, right? If every black person voted that was eligible to vote, we would control every house in Congress, Senate, and
that's facts.
Right, but we won't do it. So that's why it's not on the ballot.
Right, and they meaning the system know it too.
That's why they do everything they can do to keep us from voting. That's why we have gerrymandering and for districts and all this kind of thing. So that's what I'm just saying. When you think about, well, why isn't civil rights still on the ballot? Why isn't human rights on the ballot? Why aren't all these things on the ballot? It's
crazy. They said that more Latinos and Hispanics voted for Trump this election than they did before the last election. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, he was locking Hispanics up in cages, separating them from the kids. And and more people voted for him. I was like, who can pull that off?
But you know why I think that's the case? Because sociologists and the Bible teaches us that people like to connect themselves with their oppressors. They like, it makes them feel important themselves. When they can connect themselves. Here's the thing. And I might get some flack behind this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. There are too many black folk that want to be white, and too many Latinos that want to be white. You know what I mean? Right. Really, rather than be. And that's why I think they do it. I think that there are a lot of blacks who are Republicans not like you. You're a moderate Republican because financially you got a business to run. And because that's why you can vote Democrat,
right?
Because you're voting a platform,
right?
I was talking to a young lady not too long ago, an African American, black, whichever you want to call her, and she was talking about another young lady, and she said, "You know, the one that has good hair." And I said, "Which one is that?" "The one that has good hair." I said, "Okay, but which one is that?" "You know who I'm talking about, Pastor, the one with good hair." I was thinking to myself, well, who? I still don't know who you're talking about. So finally, she changed it and said the one with the long, straight hair. And I said, well, why are you calling that good hair?
Right.
I'm confused. What made the hair God put on your head bad hair?
Right.
You know, if everything that God made is good, then why is it that only straight hair is good hair? See, when I say that we drinking the Kool-Aid, that's what I'm talking about. I believe black folk are falling behind Trump because they have drank the Kool-Aid. They want to assimilate with white folk, you know. But the Bible says, be not conformed. You got to live in the world, but don't be conformed to the world. I got to live around you, but I ain't got to be like you to feel good about myself.
Right.
You know, I ain't got to feel like I'm white to feel good about myself. I can keep my hair, I can all this stuff that makes me who I am. I can keep my culture, and I can still feel good about myself. That's why I think they do it.
Yeah. You know, what I always, I think about often is I want to be an American. But the problem is I don't feel like America wants me to be an American. And that's where the rub is at. But then, okay, so what is the next option? Like when I told you when I took a trip over to Dubai, and I said, I was talking to my white friends, and it was like, how was the trip to Dubai? I said, honestly, I felt like I was white, and they couldn't understand that. I was like, I said, I literally, nobody was looking at me strange. I could go somewhere, and they was going out their way to help me. I'm like, wow, so this is what it was supposed to be like at home,
right?
But it's not. I gotta go to Dubai
to feel like a human being,
right? It doesn't. But I was trying to tell people, I was like, you're not gonna understand it until you experience it. Then you realize how messed up things are back at home. And we got off that plane, and it was during the time when Trump was monitoring people coming over, like if he was Muslim. And I had never gotten asked that. I've been overseas many times. Never been asked if I was Muslim. Flying to New York, are you Muslim? No, I'm not. And okay, and ask me all these questions. Like, what in the world? And then to be overseas, everybody over there treating me with respect. I come back home and my own people at the airport giving me attitude, negative. It's like, I'm ready. I said, you know what? I just want to get back on the plane and go back to Dubai. Just like it's like, what is going on?
You're right. And see, and that's why I think that's the thing, is that blacks, Latino, I'm not saying all, but the ones that do what you just said. How you vote for a man who's locking your kids up, people that are part of your background, is that because they want to assimilate so bad, that they will treat their own people bad because they want to act like, those white folk are acting. And that's the kicker. Just like, for example, I have been standing in a grocery line and watched the white person in front of me write a check, and it'd be a black cashier, and watch that person write a check, and they don't ask them for ID. And I write a check, and they ask me for ID. Right. And I have said to the person, did you know them personally? And of course, the person didn't know why I asked the questions. They said no. And I said, well, if you didn't know them personally, do you know me personally? No. I said, well, why you asked me for ID and you didn't ask them?
Right.
Well, that's the policy. I said, hold, excuse me for a minute. Call your manager over here. Why? Why you need a manager? I said, because if you didn't ask them and you asking me, something's wrong.
Yeah.
And then the person would be like, well, well, if you don't want to show it, you don't have to, but I just don't want to get in trouble. I say, well, you didn't think that way when the white person came through.
Right.
See, and that's a black person treating me like that.
Mm-hmm.
Just like I say, black folks say, good hair.
Mm-hmm.
Good hair. We have been brainwashed into thinking that the white way is the right way ourselves. Mm-hmm. And that's why black women won't vote for a black woman.
What's funny? Person, a white lady I know, voted yesterday, and she didn't get a sticker. They gave her a pen. Mm-hmm. You know how you walk out the door, and she's like, "I want my sticker." She walks back in the door that you go out of, and it's like, "Hey, I don't want a pen. I want my sticker." Mm-hmm. And I told Sherry, I was like, a black person would never go back in the door that just came out of.
No.
On that particular thing.
No.
But that is the difference. Right. Like, it didn't even cross her mind that was like, well, wait a minute, I don't want this pen, I want a sticker.
White privilege is real. I'm telling you, it's real. And because of that, there are blacks that want white privilege. I mean, I want freedom, but I don't want to be white to get it.
Right.
I like my skin.
Let me ask this. This is a very deep question I'm about to ask. Are black people, like I just mentioned, we would not go back in that door. Mm-hmm. Is that on us for not going back in the door? Is that like our own mindset, or who put that in us? Did we like?
Who?
No, I'm saying, okay, I know who.
When.
Okay, the who part is, your mama saying, your parents telling you down the line, don't do X, Y, and Z. Don't do X, Y, and Z.
They told you for good reason.
Right, it's for good reason. But when do we stop?
When we have leaders that allow us not to be criminalized and killed and all those other things for exercising that privilege. Remember we talked about the weaponization of whiteness?
Right.
And it's true, white can be used as a weapon. And that's the thing, right? Like, for example, the white people don't teach their kids to go 10 and 2 on the steering wheel when they get pulled over.
Right.
They don't have to. Now, I remember I was in a meeting with some other black ministers and a political, one of the state senator. And we were talking, and I just brought that up. And one of the other white guys like shot me down. Well, that's you acting like that. I'm free. I do what I want to do. I said, you keep on saying that stupid stuff. The bullet don't care about talking about you free. Right. The bottom line is this: black men get killed all the time. You just teach your kid that stupid stuff. I said, okay, you had a right to have your own opinion, but the reality is this: black men get killed for not having their hands where they can be seen.
Right.
Right. And just life. And I did not want to get a phone call that my 70-year-old, had been shot in the head because he reached for a phone. Right. Or, something like that. So I taught him that. Now, do you blame me because I taught him how to stay alive?
Right.
But that's the way the guy was coming across. So I'm just saying there's certain things we know if we do, we're not going to get the same response.
Right.
See, if I walk back in, it's not going to be, excuse me, here it is. It's going to be, hey.
Right.
Throw him on the floor and handcuff him.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? See, for example, you walk through a store today and there's a sign on the door that says you cannot come in here without a mask.
Yep, it's up there.
I have yet to see a black person walk through the door without a mask on, but I see plenty of white folk walk through the door without a mask on. And as a matter of fact, I heard a young black man tell the woman, ma'am, I can't serve you without a mask. And she said, I don't care what you say, I'm free. And kept right on walking in the store and got her groceries and then just went to another line. Okay? See, because that's how they do business. Now, if I was told that I can't wear a mask and I keep walking in, what do you think they would have done?
Calling the police.
I'd have been on the ground in the parking lot with my hands behind me, So,
right.
I'm just saying that's why. We don't do it because we don't get the same treatment if we break the rules.
Right. Yeah. And it's one of them situations where is the best protest really just exercising your right?
I think the way that we need to do it is, again, we need to stop making excuses for not voting. Black folk need to come together and vote the interest of our people and not the interest of the individual. And that's a part of our problem.
Yeah.
You know, is that if you worked for a white man, and one of the senators who I happen to know, this is how he came up, right? You worked for a white man. That white man liked you. You was a nice person. I'm granted, you was a nice person. You were smart. The white man happened to be a Republican. So therefore, you fall in line with the Republican Party, right? And that person says you should run for office, and you do. You became you became a congressman, and I'm fine with that. But see, my thing is your whole view is based on that dynamic, and not looking at, well, wait a minute. It's true you helped me, and I'm glad you helped me. See, white folk have helped me, and I'm glad they helped me, but I haven't forgotten that my goal ought to be to bring everyone up that looks like me.
Right.
And
then also talk to the people, because you behind the closed door, and say, hey, I understand you got, you want to put 5 things on the list. Can I just make a suggestion, or how about we should one of them be this?
Right.
And then the next time around, one of them be, so now you're not just stuck in the mud, you actually progressing. You're not moving fast. But I know one thing, Pastor Daniels, if you ever see a turtle, out in the field,
slow and steady,
you'll turn around, get busy with something else, turn back around, turtle gone.
Mm-hmm.
But he was never, he was just consistently moving and where he's trying to get going.
That's right.
And that's what we need to do. And it seems like, the civil rights movement, we took some leaps. And we're taking we're taking jumps, but not walking. Like, we're not steadily pushing forward with what Black people need.
Well, and that's because we don't vote. You know what? They did a poll. I was going to say a poll, a statistical count of athletes, professional athletes, Black athletes who vote, less than 50%. It was like 40, like low 40s that voted. Low 40s that voted. So once you got your money, the other stuff you don't worry about, too much anymore. And I'm just saying,
what's crazy about that is, even if they would have voted Republican, I would have understood what they did.
Right.
They didn't even vote at all.
They're not voting, and they're not taking the funding that they have and helping people who can look like us make a difference in the world. And that's what I'm saying. See, that's like the Koch brothers, right? They put millions of dollars behind their candidates, but they also use their voice, So I'm just saying, to me, we ought to have people in Congress, in the Senate, both local and representative level, that look like us, that we put there, so therefore they know they can stay there. You know what I mean? They don't have to be afraid to speak out,
right? Because
they know they can stay there. Right. And if you don't have that, you are forced to go along with your party. But see, that's one thing I do admire about Donald Trump. He don't care about the party. He cares about doing what he wants to do, right?
And he's been very consistent.
Right. Forget the party. I want this XYZ, but he has the political clout to do that. We should have that same political clout. We should be able to position our people such that they can't get thrown out.
Right. So
they can make a change. And they don't have to fear it. They don't have to worry about it because we got their back. But we don't do that. We switch camps.
Yeah. Wow. Well,
this was long.
This was long. It was long and good. Well, thank you all, everybody, for tuning in and listening to this. And hopefully by the time I post this, we'll know who the president is.
Yeah, you'll know if I'm crying or if I'm, if I'm depressed and need some Prozac or not, probably.
Thank y'all. Till next time.